Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be reading the top 10 finalists in the 2019 Goodreads Choice Awards in the category of romance. So that was kind of a mouthful, but I am super excited to tell you guys about all of the Goodreads Choice nominees in the category of romance. I've read 4 of the 10 nominees on this list, and I'm excited to read the other 5 romances. Yes, I know that 4 plus 5 does not equal 10. There is one book that I'm not going to read, which I'll tell you guys a little bit about later. So the goal basically for this video is to pick my favorite romance out of these 10 and hopefully predict what the winner is going to be. I think I already have an idea now. I'll tell you guys after I tell you kind of what the books that I've already read are about, and then there's going to be a vlog portion, me reading the other books that I have not read, and then at the very end I'm going to tell you guys like what I think should be the winner, and hopefully it is the winner because when I finish this video the finalists will be out. So that was kind of a mouthful, but let's get into the books that I have already read. So the first one is The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This is a book that I really enjoyed despite it being chick lit. If you guys didn't know, not a huge fan of like chick lit style romances. This definitely is very romance centered, but it doesn't have the sexy times that you would hope and expect from a typical adult romance. So this book is about Olive and Ethan, who are forced to take a honeymoon together. Their respective siblings are supposed to be getting married, and after a food poisoning incident, Olive and Ethan are set to go to this honeymoon because it can only be taken by people with last names that their family has. That makes no fucking sense. The semantics don't really matter. Olive and Ethan go on this honeymoon and they kind of hate each other. So that is sort of the gist of the story. It's an enemies to lovers on vacation in Hawaii kind of story. I like it because there's the forced proximity trope, which is always super fun. You have to do like bed sharing, which is also kind of fun. And overall, I just really enjoyed the story. I felt like it was pretty unique among Christina Lauren stories, and I felt like the conflict in this book felt very realistic given the things that we know about all of our respective characters and side characters. I liked that the conflict wasn't contrived. There wasn't a miscommunication trope that was thrown in, which is often thrown into romance. So overall, I really liked this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I read it in, I think, May, and it really did stick with me as one of my favorite romances, especially traditionally published romances of the year. So like I said, 4 stars, really enjoyed this. I don't think that this is going to be my personal winner for Best Romance of 2019, but it's definitely a book that I would recommend you guys checking out, especially if you're new to romance. The next book on this list is sadly one that I'm not going to be reading. Like I said just a second ago, I am not going to be reading The Savior by J.R. Ward. This is the 17th book in a series, and I think it's a little bit unfair for it to be on the Goodreads Choice nominees. Thankfully, it's actually an adult romance, unlike a couple of these other books on this list, but unfortunately, I don't know if, is it fair? You guys let me know in the comments down below if you think it's fair for the 17th book in a series to be part of this challenge. I will say I'm sure it's a fantastic book. I love J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood series. I'm 14 books into the 17 book series, but I didn't want to have to force myself to read the other books before this one. I also didn't want to spoil myself, so this one I'm just going to leave kind of at the end of my ranking list. Primarily, like I said, just morally, I don't think it should be on the list, and then also I'm not going to read it, so I don't think it's fair to rank a book that I have not read. So this next book, I read The Kiss Thief by LJ Shen, and this is the standalone specifically that got me to realize the pattern that LJ Shen tends to take with her standalone romances. LJ Shen has put out 4 books this year, 3 of which are standalones, and they all sort of had the same vibe. You have this uncharacteristically douchey main character. I mean, people don't actually act this rude in real life, at least I hope not, and if so, I hope that that's not someone you'd want to be in a romantic relationship with. And then the twists just become more and more unrealistic as LJ Shen writes, and that's coming from someone who really likes LJ Shen's writing. So let me explain what this book is about. It is about a girl named Francesca, who I believe is 18. She's the daughter of a mob boss, and she has always known that she is going to marry the son of a rival mob boss. It's kind of an arranged marriage situation, but she is really into that guy. She thinks he's so cute, whatever. Obviously there's conflict because her dad becomes blackmailed, and instead of getting to marry her childhood love and or like betrothed, she ends up married to a much older senator. I believe he's in his 30s, and this is their romance, I guess you could say. My main issue with this book is that Francesca is really hung up on her childhood love almost through the entirety of this book. Also, I believe the senator ends up cheating on Francesca at one point during the story. That doesn't really make for a great romance in my opinion, and I can overlook cheating in books sometimes, but in this one it was just kind of gross. Also, there is a sex scene that in my opinion read as non-consensual. I personally just really had a bad feeling when reading it. The story as a whole was just okay. It wasn't the worst thing that I've ever read, But overall, this is just a 3-star read for me, and it really, like I said, got me to realize how much I don't love LJ Shen standalones, which is important because other LJ Shen books are on this list, and we're going to talk about those in a second. And a second is apparently right now. The next book on this list is Pretty Reckless by LJ Shen. This is the first book in the All Saints High series, which is a spin-off of her Sinners of Saints series. And in this series, we follow the children of the men of the Sinners of Saints series. So basically, this book is about a girl named Daria. She is the daughter of one of the guys that we read about in a novella from that series. The parents of Daria are a high school English teacher who ends up falling for her much younger student. So kind of weird to begin with. And then the story, I think my main issue really is that it is exceedingly difficult to write these sort of like irredeemable douchebag stories that LJ Shen writes and have parents be involved as subplot. Daria has a really terrible relationship with her mother, ends up being a main thread of this book, which I really didn't love. And it also just sort of undoes all of the work that you do in your previous series. It's like you're getting us to root for these characters, and when they get together, we're super happy. But then we find out later that they're shitty parents. It's not fun to read about, and I think that the focus of this story was really more on the familial relationship than on the love story. It's supposed to be sort of like an enemies to lovers situation. Daria ends up falling for this guy that her parents have taken in. It's all kind of convoluted and stupid, and honestly, the twists in this were just really not for me. I ended up liking the second book in this series, which also came out this year, a lot better than this one. This one was just a hot mess. I'm sure that my description is doing not much for you guys, but I just didn't like this book. I didn't like either of the characters. I found them whiny. I found the parents annoying. Overall, this just is not a book for me, and I ended up giving this book, sadly, 2 stars. The last book on this list that I have read is one that I thoroughly enjoyed, and it is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I'm sure everybody and their mother knows about this book by now, but it's about a guy named Alex and a guy named Henry. Alex is the first son of the United States. Henry is the prince, I guess, of England, and it is about their sort of like enemies to lovers romance set against the backdrop of an alternate reality 2016 US presidential election. I really liked this book. I liked the reimagining of the 2016 election. I think that is really part of the strength of this book, if you will. I think the romance was also really sweet. I think the progression from enemies to lovers was maybe a little bit too quick for my liking. Spoiler, I gave this book 4 stars, and that's probably part of the reason I ended up giving it 4 rather than 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book though. I thought it was a really awesome debut. I liked the new adult feel to it. I don't think we get enough new adult traditionally published romances, so I was really excited to see this one featured on this list and to be nominated. I think this one has the potential to be the winner for this year. I'd be really excited to see a debut author take home that prize, and as of right now, I think this is going to be my choice for the 2019 Goodreads winner. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but as of right now, I think I'm going to put this in the #1 slot. I'm going to flash a graphic right here, and I'm going to be periodically flashing this graphic so you guys can kind of see how I rank things as I read them. But anyway, the other 5 books on this list are books that I either know little about or have been putting off reading for a while, so I'm just going to list those off, and then I'm going to roll that beautiful bean vlog footage, and you guys can see what I thought of these books. So the first book is Things You Save in a Fire by Kathryn. This is supposed to be sort of like a chick lit women's firefighter book. I don't really know much about it. I don't really want to read this, but whatever. The next one is The Bride Test by Helen Huang. This is the much anticipated follow-up novel to Helen Huang's 2018 debut, which was The Kiss Quotient. Loved that book, have been putting off The Bride Test for a lot of reasons, but excited to give this one a go now. Then there is The Flatshare by Bethel. This, I believe, is like a British romantic rom-com sort of thing where 2 characters kind of have to share a flat together, which should be interesting. The next one is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This one has been getting a lot of buzz on this list because a lot of people think it's a thriller rather than a romance. Some people say it's romantic suspense. I'm interested to give it a try to see if I believe any of that, if I agree or disagree. And the last book on the list is The Girl Who Used to Know by Tracey Grieves. Not really excited to read this one. Again, it's chick lit, which is not my thing. Jessica from Peace Love Books XO really did not like this book either, so I don't have high hopes that I'm going to like it. Hopefully the things that bothered her don't bother me, and from what she said, they don't typically bother me, but I'm still very nervous. So without further ado, let's get into the vlog portion of this video, and then we'll wrap it all up, and I'll tell you guys what book should win the Goodreads Choice Awards for romance in 2019. I think there's a new sheriff in town, and her name is Helen Huang. I adored The Bride Test. It was so good. I couldn't even pause to vlog for you guys because I was just so enthralled and engaged with both the audiobook and the physical book. I read and listened at the same time. I think my hesitance with picking up this book in the first place, I got approved for an ARC book earlier in the year and just never picked it up was because I had enjoyed The Kiss Quotient so much. I was scared that The Bride Test wouldn't live up to my expectations, and I was also scared that it wouldn't pack quite the same emotional punch. I was wrong. I was punched in the gut multiple times by this book. I did end up crying. I don't know how Helen Huang does it. It was such a perfectly paced, plotted... Hi. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she makes her characters so lovable. Anyway, this book is about a woman named Esme who is working really hard in Vietnam to provide for her mother, her grandmother, and her daughter Jade. She is propositioned by a woman traveling to Vietnam to find a wife for her son, Kai. Kai is on the autism spectrum. I believe he has Asperger's, and he just has no interest in romance. He has a very particular way of living his life, and he just really has no interest in housing a woman for a summer and trying to get to know her and have her become his bride. So this story is about Kai and Esme's relationship and how Esme starts to grow on Kai. I love both of these characters. Esme was so strong and resilient, and watching her try to learn English and find a career and a passion and a drive was kick-ass. Also, Kai, watching him realize that he had romantic feelings for Esme was so good. Even though miscommunication is used as a trope in this book, it didn't bother me given the context. There's not much more I can say about this book. I loved the ending. There just wasn't a single moment where I was like, I wish this would speed up, or I don't know why the characters are behaving this way. I also really liked the familial support for both of our main characters. Esme is in the US and she's in a new place, but Kai's mom and Kai's brother really take Esme in and make her feel at home, and she also kind of just has a support system in place that she gets once she's in the United States. And then Kai also relying on his brother for relationship advice and his cousin for relationship advice. It was just beautiful. I don't know how much more I can say about this book. I'm just gushing at this point, but this book, I'm gonna flash the little graphic up here, is definitely gonna be in my #1 slot as of right now for my best romance 2019 for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I love it. It's so good. Couldn't recommend this one enough. I actually renewed my Book of the Month membership just so I could get the hardcover of this and The Kiss Quotient, so I loved it. I would highly recommend it, and it's definitely, I would say, my favorite traditionally published romance of the year. Now, Verity by Colleen Hoover, so let's talk about that. I'm about halfway done with it, and at this point I can definitely understand why people are irritated that this book was nominated for the romance category. It's a pretty cool read. It's just not a romance. There is a romantic element, but it is so light. It definitely is just a thriller at the end of the day. So let's talk about what it's about, because it's truly kind of unlike anything I've ever read, and it's definitely unlike anything that Colleen Hoover's ever written, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed. So it's about an author. Honestly, can't remember her name. I'm listening to the audiobook. She's just some basic white bitch. She's an author who has not published a book in a while, and she gets roped into finishing a thriller series by a really well-loved and renowned author named Verity. Verity has been in a car accident, and she is no longer able to write, speak, move around really, besides like blink and breathe. And our author, whose name I can't remember, ends up going to Verity's home to kind of look over her notes and try to figure out how she's going to tie up this series. And she ends up finding this manuscript, or this writing that Verity has done, talking about her life, talking about her relationship with her husband and her children, and the things that our narrator finds are shocking to say the least. So this book is about our narrator trying to figure out Verity and figure out kind of what perspective she's coming from when she's writing these books, when she is writing this like manuscript that's honestly sort of fucking terrifying. It's also kind of about our narrator falling for Verity's husband, and I don't know if she's necessarily taking over Verity's life, but she's living in her home and she's getting closer to Verity's child, and we're just kind of unraveling the secrets of Verity's life. So I'm enjoying it so far. There are some things in this book that feel very real and really disgusting, so I'm very impressed with Colleen Hoover's ability to make this a gritty thriller. I don't know, I just wasn't expecting this from Colleen Hoover. From the other things that I've read, she doesn't do a ton of gritty things. She's definitely done emotional books and hard-hitting contemporaries along with her romance, but nothing like this before, so I'm definitely impressed. Does it belong in this category? No, I really would have preferred to see this in the thriller category. Honestly, I think it's just sort of a result of authors being pigeonholed by genre. I wish that authors could move more seamlessly between genres, but you get an author who writes YA and then they're always categorized as a YA author even if they write an adult book. So I'm sure that's probably frustrating for Colleen Hoover, but I'm sure she's also just really glad that her book was was nominated. I'm enjoying it. I don't know, I'm sort of conflicted because what if I end up liking this book more than all the others? Am I going to rate it as my favorite romance? Like, I don't think that I in good conscience can, because it's not a romance, but I don't know, maybe time will tell. Maybe the end of this book is just going to be some epic love story. I'm not quite sure, but I will definitely get back to you as I read. I'm going to listen to the audiobook of this. I think I only have about an hour or an hour and a half left, so let's try to finish that up, and then after that we can move on to something else. Okay friends, I just finished Verity and I'm really upset because first 2/3 of this book I really enjoyed. I thought it was just the kind of thriller I like. I like a good psychological thriller where women do horrible things, because I just do. My issue though, a lot of the times when I'm reading a psychological thriller where it's clear that they're going to do the whole unhinged woman who is just obsessed with her man thing, is that it's going to fall into dangerous territory, because I don't like women being victims, if that makes sense. Like, I don't like it going from, I don't know how to conceptualize and verbalize what I'm trying to say. I did not enjoy the ending of this book. There was another way that I wanted it to go, and it didn't go that way. In fact, I think it went probably the worst possible way it could have gone. And I understand why so many people enjoy this book, because it is that shock and awe value. It is wild. It's got that fucked up element. So I get it. Understand why people would give this 5 stars. For me, it's not. Let me talk about spoilers real quick, because I feel like it's necessary to kind of tell you guys what I really disliked about it, and then I'll tell you guys kind of what my rating is and where I'm going to be putting it on my little graphic. So I'm gonna put a spoiler thing right here and it'll go away once I'm done. So the issue that I had is that this entire time you're reading this manuscript that Verity wrote, and she's talking about how she basically killed her 2 eldest children and how she really has no maternal instinct, how she's been manipulating her husband. And then at the end of the book we find out, I thought we were going to find out that this manuscript was actually written by our narrator. His name is Lowen, by the way. Stupid name, I knew it was stupid. By our narrator Lowen. I thought it was going to be maybe written by her, and we're going to find out that she is actually the perpetrator, and I don't know, I thought it would be twisted like that. What we find out instead is that Verity was using the manuscript basically as a writing practice. It was just really lame, and basically we're meant to believe that all of the stuff she's written is completely false, and that her husband found out about the manuscript and thinks that it is true. He is the one that basically got her into this car accident, and that is the reason why she is incapacitated. My issue, there were a couple of issues that I had, and I think a review on Goodreads really summed it up well, and if I can remember, I'll put it in the description of this video. One of the issues they pointed out was that Verity, we know that she can walk around and move around and actually isn't incapacitated by the car accident, but she somehow was able to fake scans like of her brain, and she was able to completely fake things to her husband. Just makes no sense to me. Beyond that, I think we're supposed to sympathize with Verity because her husband should know her better than this manuscript. I don't know, that was not convincing to me. I really wish it hadn't gone in that direction, because what we're led to believe is that the husband is this not manipulative guy, he's just neglectful. He didn't pay attention to Verity, he didn't know her well enough to know that she could never write these things and whatever. And I think that's what irritates me, and I don't like psychological thrillers that go in that direction. For me, it's a very fine line when you have an unhinged woman, and in this case she ends up becoming a victim rather than someone who is in charge of her own destiny. Like, if you want to go crazy for a guy and you want to do some like fucking weird shit, that's fine as long as you're in control of it. And in this situation, it's clear that Verity has no agency for the majority of the book. I mean, like, she's having to pretend that she is incapacitated, and we're just meant to believe that, oh, she's actually not unhinged. It's actually her husband who doesn't know her. I mean, I guess I'm glad it didn't demonize the woman, but I didn't like that explanation. I wanted it to be Lowen that did something just wild. So I don't know if this is making sense. If you read this book, let me know if you had similar feelings. I am upset at the ending because I otherwise would have really enjoyed this book. That being said, this is not a romance at all. Romance was discussed, but it reminds me a lot of An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen in its subject matter, at least for the majority of the book, and I would not call An Anonymous Girl a romance. I also wouldn't call Verity a romance. So going to flash my graphic right now. I'm actually going to put Verity in last place. Even though I'm going to give this book 3 stars, I'm going to put it in last place because this is not a romance to me, and I don't think it deserves to win the romance category. That's a personal decision, but also I didn't love this book, and but I don't think that it deserves a place above The Savior, which was a romance, even though I'm not going to be reading The Saviors. But now I am ready to move on to something hopefully a little bit more exciting. I'm going to be picking up The Flatshare by Bethel. This is one that I actually got on sale today. It was on sale for $2.99 via Kindle, so I'm going to hop into that. I know this book's a little bit longer than some of the others on my list, but I want to hop into this. I feel kind of stupid for putting off the two like chick lit women's fiction books till the very end because I kind of hate those kinds of books, but it's fine. I need a refresh, a nice palate cleanser after reading Verity, so I'm going to start on The Flatshare. Okay, so I am 10% into The Flatshare by Bethel, and I have to be honest with you guys, I'm not absolutely loving it, and I'm kind of disappointed because I thought that this was going to be just my favorite book of this entire video, if I'm being completely honest with you. Really thought that I would like The Bride Test and this book, but this one is just not exactly what I needed. It does have that sort of patented British humor, which I love, but it's just not quirky enough for me. I don't know. I wanted it to be more lighthearted and fun, and it's just not having that effect. So this book, if you didn't know, is about Leon and Tiffy. Tiffy ends up renting Leon's flat. He works, I think, the night shift at a hospital, so they never cross paths. He ends up sleeping while she's at work, and then vice versa. So they end up never seeing each other. And I think their romance blossoms when they start like leaving notes for each other and then like making food for each other and, you know, just like doing things in passing, because they never actually meet, I think, until like the end of the book. And I guess the premise of it's good, but the side characters I'm not absolutely loving right now. I think Tiffy's friends and coworkers are very irritating. I feel like Leon's girlfriend is a complete bitch, and that's the thing, he does have a girlfriend at the start of this, and I think that's the whole point, is he's supposed to be in kind of like a toxic relationship, and we're supposed to find out later that he's going to, you know, break up with her for Tiffy. But I don't know, it's not as charming yet as I thought it would be. It's definitely not bad, and I'm hoping that this is a very slow burn story. It's kind of giving me like Attachments by Rainbow Rowell vibes in the writing and the pacing, but it's just, it doesn't have that like interesting hook like Attachments does, where, you know, you're reading emails and stuff. This is just sort of like slow moving and kind of depressing. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not what I want right now. I just finished Beartown by Frederick Bachman, which I really loved, but I was kind of in the mood for something a little bit more lighthearted after finishing that, so this is just not really doing it for me. But I'm trying to withhold judgment. Like I said, I'm only like 10-12% in. I'm hoping to get 50% in tonight, that way I can finish this up tomorrow, which is Friday, and then read the other two books like Saturday, Sunday, and just be done with this video. Not that I'm not loving it, but the romances that I'm having to read for this video are not things that I would pick up on my own, which has been kind of the struggle, especially these last three. I don't know why I did it in this order. It just kind of happened to be the way that things worked out, but I'm regretting that because the other two I know I'm gonna like even less than this one. Also, I'm stupid. I ended up buying this book on Book Outlet. It's not here yet, but now I'm gonna be the proud owner of a copy of The Flatshare. I'm really hoping that it turns around and I end up liking it. Okay, ignore the outfit. I had to refilm the intro to this video today, so I'm wearing the same clothes that I was wearing earlier in the video, which logically doesn't make sense, but whatever. I am 25% into this book. I just don't really like it, and I'm upset because I wanted to like it so much. I think my issue is the pacing of this book just feels a little off to me. We ramped up the post-it note and like communication between Tiffy and Leon pretty quickly, and I really liked the communication they had, and then it seemed to kind of peter off for a good 10 to 15 pages. And I get that there's probably some ebb and flow, but it's been months into their flat sharing situation, and it doesn't seem like we're any closer to getting them to meet or form any sort of romantic relationship. I mean, I didn't need it to move super quickly, but it's just the pacing's weird. I also think the tone is a little weird because, like I said, it's got that British humor, but there's also some like really heavy topics dealt with, like Leon's brother is in prison for a crime he didn't commit, which is super tragic and horrible, and is definitely something that happens in the United States and probably abroad as well. But I don't know. It's not giving me that like warm and fuzzy chick lit feeling that I wanted. Not that chick lit novels can't have like depth to them. This is just not what I wanted. I don't know how many times I can say that, but I'm trying to keep an open mind, trying to keep a positive perspective. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get to the 50% mark and update you guys then. I didn't want to have to update you guys now, but I just thought I'd be honest with how I'm feeling because it's making me slumpy, to be honest. Is it my seasonal depression, or are these books just not good? And by these books, I mean this book, The Flatshare, and also the book that I'm reading for the other secret TBR video that I'm doing. I feel like I don't usually, I mean, I complain a fair amount, but I feel like I don't usually complain that much about the books that I have to read for videos. especially when they're not books that I think are objectively going to be like horrible, you know? Like I don't normally try to go out of my way to pick things that I don't want to read. I thought the Flatshare was going to be great. You know what? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just not in the right headspace to read it. I don't know. It's just like kind of depressing. Leon works with like sick people and brother's in prison, and like I know they're trying to get him out because whatever. It's just, I'm at 35%. I still haven't even gotten to 50% of the way done, and I fly through books. You guys know that. So I'm not DNFing this. I'm not going to DNF this. What if I put it on pause and try to read a different book? I'm gonna try to do that actually. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I am going to go ahead and pick up Things You Save in a Fire by Kathryn Center. I don't think this is gonna be any better. I think this is gonna be emo too. I don't think I want to read this book, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna power through. So perhaps chiclets do deserve rights. I am about 50% into Things You Save in a Fire by Kathryn Center, and I'm actually really enjoying it. It is definitely more romance focused than I thought it would be. I know that Jess, like I said, has done this video before and has read this book, and so I was interested basically to see, you know, what our opinions on these books be similar, and we definitely had some similar thoughts and opinions, but we have some different ones too, obviously. And I think her opinion of this one was that it was really good, but she didn't think it was very romance heavy, and it maybe knowing that going into this, I guess I'm surprised that there is romance content. It's about this girl who, I say girl, a woman who is a firefighter in Austin, Texas. After a series of events and after her mom asks her, her estranged mother asks her to come to Massachusetts to help take care of her, our main character, I think her name is Cassie, decides that she's going to go to Massachusetts and join a different, what do you call the place for the fire, like a different group of firefighters? Basically, she's going to go work in Massachusetts, and she has to kind of start from the ground up in a work environment that isn't necessarily hostile, but is not used to women firefighters ever. Like, they've never had women firefighters, and they're definitely a little bit behind the times, I guess you could say. So I really thought it was going to be just Cassie, or I think that's her name, fuck, I really don't know. I really thought it was just going to be about her learning how to deal with like misogyny and stuff, and I guess there's a little bit of that, but there hasn't been a ton of focus on that. It's mostly pranks, her kind of growing closer with her mother and developing a crush on the other new guy at the fire station. Brain blast. I just figured it out. Nugget, stop it. I'm liking it so far. I have no complaints. Probably because I'm listening to it on audio. I was so stuck yesterday, you guys. Like, I could not get through the Flatshare to save my life. Like, I just could not do it. So this is going a lot better. And it's a really short audiobook, so I think I only have a little over an hour left. So it's kind of crazy to me. But I will definitely update you guys when I'm done. I don't really anticipate there being anything like wild to update you guys on, but it's good. It's a good book, and I'm glad that this one's painless. I don't know if I told you guys, but I fully resubscribed to Audible just so I could listen to this book, and I was like, you know what, it's gonna suck, it's fine, I can return it, I can get a different credit, get a different book, it'll be fine. I actually really liked this book, and I definitely think I would listen to it again on audio. Like, the audio was definitely a pleasant listening experience, and also the book was just good. I already tweeted this, but it really reminded me a lot of The Simple Wilds by K.A. Tucker, reconnecting with a family member who you're estranged from, but it just felt deeper in some ways and less deep in others. So I don't want to compare it completely to The Simple Wild, but I think that would help in kind of trying to summarize my feelings on how I felt. I think I'm gonna give this book 4 stars because I did really enjoy it. I think I'm going to put it in between like The Unhoneymooners and The Kiss Thief. I'll have the graphic up just for a second so you guys can kind of see where we're at. It's crazy, we only have 2 more books left. I feel like I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but let me kind of wrap up my feelings on this book. So I feel like the just general relationship, the romantic relationship between our rookie firefighter and then our like female firefighter was just so much more balanced and like less misogynistic than the one in The Simple Wild, because I don't know, I loved the way the rookie talked about our main character. He was just so in awe of her strength and her compassion and just everything that she was, whereas I feel like in The Simple Wild from like day one, the male main character was trying to sabotage the girl, and I get that that's part of it, but he seemed like kind of misogynistic. I don't know, he was like, you don't need fancy clothes here, you don't need makeup, and he would keep those things from her. I hated that. That was an unnecessary detail that I think really could have made the story better had it not been included. In this one, I really rooted for the relationship because of how they felt for each other. It was just so pure and so wholesome. That being said, I don't think the romantic relationship was quite as developed as I would have liked it to be. I think some people might consider this insta-love, but since it did kind of unfold over the the course of the story. It didn't bother me too much. I just really liked it. I don't know, overall it was really good, and I liked the other things that were included. I liked the messages that were included about, like I said, grief and about trauma. This book also handles sexual assault, so if that's something that is like a no for you, I definitely wouldn't recommend this book. I liked this a lot. I thought it was really, really good, and I just wasn't expecting it from a chick lit book, so that just goes to show that like I should stop being so biased, because I thought I was gonna love the Flatshare, can't even get myself to finish it, and then I didn't want to read this book, and I'm absolutely enjoying it, or enjoyed it, I guess. So yeah, I am excited now to finish the other two books. Guess what? No, I still haven't finished the Flatshare, but I did get 64% of the way through it, and it's getting better. Thank God. Guys, I've been scared. I've been telling you guys how scared I am because I really wanted this to be good. I still think I'm gonna end up giving away my copy of the like I can't see this like becoming a favorite read. Like if I've been this bored this whole time, like there's no way. I will say I do like the development of the romantic relationship. Like I do think it's cute. I like that it's slow burn. My only like major complaint, to be honest with you guys, is that I think it's a little too depressing for me. And I don't think it is the prison storyline that's making me sad. I think it's mostly our main character Tiffy and her ex-boyfriend's like whole storyline. I'm just sick of it. I'm glad that we're shining light on toxic relationships, but I just didn't want it in this format. Like this, in my eyes and in my mind, would have functioned so much better as a rom-com rather than it being, I don't know, it's just like bogged down by the depressing stuff. You can totally feel free to disagree with me, but like, I don't know, that's kind of the feeling that I'm having right now. I think I'm gonna try to power through this, and then I'm gonna start in on The Girl He Used to Know, or whatever the book is called. I still haven't gotten the audiobook, so I'm just gonna have to physically read it, but I just have this gut feeling I'm gonna DNF it, and then I'll be done with this video. So like, I'm trying not to get too excited about the like prospect of DNFing that book, but all of the reviews that I've read from people I respect have DNF'd it, so I'm thinking I will probably do that as well. So anyway, I'll get back to you guys when I'm finished with the Flatshare and we can like wrap that book up finally. Yes, fine friends, I have finally finished the Flatshare. I know, I didn't think it could be done, but I did it. I ended up liking it a lot more in the last like 40% of the book. That being said, I can't in good conscience give this anything more than a 3-star, which is disappointing because I really did like the ending. I did think it was very satisfying, and I was really happy with the way the characters got together. I mean, Leon and Tiffy are super cute, like there's no denying that. I just really, the overall tone of the book I think was a little bit weird for me. I really didn't appreciate the stalker X thing, maybe because I've read a lot of new adult and that's something that definitely happens. I just didn't like it so much in an adult book. I don't know, I'm not trying to belittle the importance of the message, but I didn't really like the stalker X thing that popped up. Like I knew it was gonna happen. Other people had put that in their trigger warnings for this book. So I'm gonna give this book 3 stars. I'm gonna pop the graphic up real quick. I think what I'm gonna do is put this one in between Things You Save in a Fire and The Kiss Thief. It's like, from an objective enjoyment standpoint, I really do think that I preferred, or at least I like equally liked this and Things You Save in a Fire, but from the very beginning I was intrigued by Things You Save in a Fire, whereas for the Flatshare it really took me a while to get into it. So I am going to be doing a giveaway for the Flatshare probably sometime after Christmas because my copy got delivered to my parents' house and not my house here, but I will be doing a giveaway for my hard copy of that, so be on the lookout in January. On Twitter probably is where I'll give it away. I'm a little disappointed because this is one of the romances that I really anticipated liking on this list and just in general for the year, so having to give this book 3 stars is a little bit disappointing, but I think if you don't mind a slow-moving romance and you're in the right headspace going into this knowing that it isn't really a rom-com at all, then you might really enjoy it. I mean, it was cute, it was just, I don't know, I felt like it could have been about 100 pages shorter. So I am not excited to move on to the next book, but I am excited to be done with this video. So even though I don't have the audiobook, I am going to buy this book on Kindle, I guess, and then let you guys know what it's about. I'm gonna be real honest with you guys, I'm not gonna read this book. I downloaded the free sample from Amazon and it feels like a thriller. It feels very emotionless and I just have a feeling I'm not going to enjoy it, and based on my friends' ratings I feel good about not reading this book, and I think for my mental health it's probably good that I don't read it either, especially with the ending that I know includes 9/11. It's not something that I personally want to read. So I think what I'm gonna do is put this one, I guess, at the very end of the list. That seems bad, but I also just feel like that's where it needs to go. I'm typing it into my notes right now because I want to have a clear list of winners, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this. Yeah, I think this is like a second chance romance anyway, so like I don't like second chance romances. I feel good. I've read 8 of the 10 books. good enough to rank it. So this is my list, and after I tell you guys my official rankings, then we can go and look at the actual winners. I'm super excited. I haven't looked at them yet, so I'm just gonna be as hopefully surprised as you are. You might have already seen them, I don't know. But my list and my personal winner is The Bride Test by Helen Huang. I feel really confident in this decision. I absolutely adored this book. The only other book that could really rival it in my eyes is Red, White, and Royal Blue. For me, The Bride Test really is just like the supreme winner. There was nothing wrong with The Bride Test, like nothing that I didn't like. Red, White, and Royal Blue had kind of a weird third-person POV that I didn't love, even though the story was great. After that, we have The Honeymooners, which was really awesome, loved that, but again, just not quite that caliber. Things You Save in a Fire, which was a surprise winner for me. I know I didn't go in expecting a chick lit book to be so high up on my list, but I loved that book a lot. I thought it was really good. Next, The Flatshare by Bethel. This was disappointing, but not a bad read, especially at the end. The Kiss Thief, just like whatever. Pretty Reckless, I kind of hated. The Savior, which I didn't read because it's a 17th book in a series. Verity, which is not a romance. And then The Girl He Used to Know, which I did not read, and I don't feel bad about not reading. Let's go ahead and look at the rankings and ratings and the finalists. Okay, I'm not surprised, but I really didn't expect it. Red, White, and Royal Blue won by a very sizable margin. That makes me really happy. Casey is a debut author. They really deserve this, and it's a really excellent book, so I'm really glad that an LGBT debut new adult romance won. I mean, that does make me very happy, even if it's not The Bride Test. Like, that's the only other book I think I would have been happy with winning, so I'm really happy about that. Verity by Colleen Hoover. It has like half the amount of votes that Red, White, and Royal Blue got, so I'm not as upset, but like Verity is not a romance, and I can't believe it took the second spot away from like good books. Okay, it's fine, we're cool. The Honeymooners is number 3. Again, that's not surprising because I think a lot of people are just obsessed with Christina Lauren, which is fine. I mean, that's a good book. It's a good book. I just don't think it screams romance to me, but it's fine, it's fine. Things You Save in a Fire at number 4, which I feel pretty good about because that was my number 4, so I guess other people liked it too. And then after that is The Bride Test by Helen Huang, which I think a lot of people just didn't read this one. Like, that's the only explanation I could be okay with. I do know a lot of people were excited and hyped about it coming out, but I never really heard a lot of people actually reading this one, and you should, because it's actually really excellent. That's the takeaway of this video. The next book is The Savior. Again, not really that surprising because everybody loves J.R. Ward. I mean, I'm obsessed with her. Like, I don't want you to come away from this video thinking I don't love her, because I do. It shouldn't be on the list, you know. The Kiss Thief, oh wow, The Kiss Thief got more votes than The Flatshare, which isn't that surprising because LJ Shen is a really popular author, but also like Flatshare is better than The Kiss Thief, so anyway, that's fine, whatever. Pretty Reckless at second to last, which I'm glad someone said it because it's just not a good book. Objectively, it's not great. I'm glad The Kiss Thief got more votes than Pretty Reckless because Pretty Reckless was just pretty much a mess. And then lastly, The Girl He Used to Know, which only got 13,000 votes compared to the winner, Red, White, and Royal Blue, which got 76,000. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this. I am going to, at this point, put my rankings and Goodreads rankings like on the screen so you guys can see the comparison. Overall, mine weren't completely off, except for the winner. I just feel like The Bride Test didn't get enough recognition. I think it definitely deserved it. It's a diverse romance, got autism representation. I absolutely loved it, so I think it deserved a higher spot in the voting round, but it's fine. As long as someone checks that book out from this video, I will be satisfied. But yeah, overall, this was a pretty fun experiment. I had an interesting time reading these and filming this video for you guys. Hopefully this was entertaining in some way. I hope to do this in some capacity next year, whether it's for the romance category or for a different category. Like, let me know in the comments down below if you guys would like to see me do this sort of video for maybe a genre I don't read as much, or if you want me to do romance again. I don't know, maybe next year like the romance recommendations or like the romance finalists will be better. I don't know, but I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching this long ass video, and until next time.